Hi. It's been a minute. What's going on? I already did the rundown and all of that stuff, so I'm just here to chat. I came here to do two things: chat, and I can't remember the other one. How y'all been? I am still a little jet lagged. The weird thing about jet lag for me is it doesn't mess with my sleep. I've gone to sleep at my normal time and slept pretty much most through the night, woke up a little bit. It just when I'm awake, I feel like an astronaut. Hey, Darlin's Jet. Hey, Wabbit Magic. But yeah, it just everything feels a little unreal. Like I'm in a dream, man. I imagine what's going on. Yeah, just another pilot, you know. Uh, I imagine what's going on is part of my body is seeing sunlight and telling my body, "Oh, it's daytime. You should be awake." But then there's this other part that just got used to releasing melatonin and things uh, at certain times of the day that are irrelevant to the sun, and it's like, no, you should be going to sleep. Here, let me release the things that make you want to go to sleep. Wow, Wild West Dan, I'm flattered that you would stop playing Starfield to say hello to me, little me. I mean working because you're a star in your field of work. Yeah, man, that body clock, it gets you every time. It's better today than it was yesterday, and I'm sure it'll be even better tomorrow. On the other end, when I got to Korea, I'd say it took 2 to 3 days for me to feel like I wasn't jet lagged, but probably a week before I really felt like, "Oh, I'm normal. This is normal." Yeah. You Wabbit Magic had a dream featuring me, my dog, and Mike TV. So Sawyer the dog, my dog jumped from Wabbit Magic's roof to the roof of another house across the street. Wow. In his younger days, I bet Sawyer could have done that. Not so much anymore. He can't even jump on the couch anymore because he's got arthritis. But yeah, young Sawyer was in your dream, jumping roof to roof. What was Mike TV doing there? I feel like I'm in that dream right now, as a matter of fact. What have y'all been up to? How's the show been? I was perturbed. I imagine I would be perturbed if my dog was jumping from roof to roof. That's not safe. I didn't receive any major complaints. The only complaint email that came in the entire past 2 weeks was about us plugging the Molly Woodgull, which frankly, I get it. Oh, thanks, just another pilot. Glad to hear it. Wabbit Magic's still telling us about his dream. There was a big party at Wabbit Magic's house. I love this. Yeah, so good. I'm glad to hear that the show has been going strong. I would expect nothing less. It's Wild West Dan. The complaint wasn't so much that it was an advertisement. It was that we keep bringing it up, and it's like kind of old news now. I don't know. And I'm glad to be missed. It's that weird thing of like you want to be missed just enough, but not so much that the people thought the show was bad or anything. So it feels like that's exactly right. Is there any way to get an itinerary for my trip? Oh, yeah, actually. Let me ask Eileen about that because she had notes on her iPad. Um, Not that we followed them exactly, but yeah. And also look at my Instagram if you haven't already. There's a lot of I marked locations as much as I could. Not all the locations were there for every place I went, but I would at least put the neighborhood if the actual location wasn't there. Yeah, if you say the show's better than it's ever been, but we're glad to have you back, that's perfect. If you say the show's better than it's ever been, please don't ruin it by coming back. Then I might feel bad. But yeah, it was a good trip. Um, we had a great time. My feet were the only part of me that did not have a great time because we walked everywhere. Um, they don't really have escalators in all the train stations, so you're doing a lot of steps, and then on top of that, just walking from place to place, walking around, just kind of a normal thing on vacation. My feet aren't as young as they used to be, but it was worth it. Um, Definitely ate more food than I burned calories even with all the walking. I think I gained about like 5 pounds. Also worth it. I actually took a screenshot of my steps, Dan, and put it on Instagram. The last full day that we were in Seoul, uh, there was we did 19,000 steps that day. We were regularly above 15,000 steps. Thank you, Lord Mulgar. It's good to be back. Oh, yes, Dan 3413, not Wild West Dan. True, there's more than one Dan. Great, Lucky Phil. It's good to be back. Yeah, it was a lot of steps. Did I use a selfie shop? Did. We used one that let you take pictures with celebrities. So put the celebrity in and then you position yourself. So that's me and Min Yoon Gi hanging out at the selfie shop. I didn't have much downtime, to be honest. We would get up in the morning, either eat some breakfast that we had bought at one of the Pyeongjong convenience stores the night before, or we would or go out and grab something or like coffee or something, and then we'd head out to a neighborhood and explore. Usually come back in the afternoon to kind of cool off because it was pretty hot and humid, and then go back out in the evening. So honestly, the downtime, like on trains and stuff, I think is probably what you mean. I was reading. I read the Sword and Laser book and finished that early. That's kind of what I did. Most of the time when I was on the train, to be honest, though, I was looking at Naver maps to be like, okay, how many stops? Because I didn't want to miss a stop, stuff like that. Hey, Beatmaster, thanks for the sub. The book is Maureen McHugh's China Mountain Zhang, Z-H-A-N-G. Interesting book, written in 1992, but feels in many ways like it was written this year, and the parts in which it doesn't kind of stick out because of that. Cheer, cheer, cheer. It's a lot, Wild West Dan, UC Vanguard, Freestar Rangers. I get it. Hey, Zoe brings bacon. Good to see you too. Subways most of the time, not high speed trains, but did take one bullet train to Busan, the train to Busan. If you've seen the movie, my train ride to Busan was different than the one in the movie, mostly due to the lack of flesh-eating zombies. It was good train ride though, like 2.5, 3 hours, something like that, to get from Seoul to Busan. Brad Pitt was not on the train. There were free waters, and they gave us cookies on the train. That's what I saw on the train. Oh, and a guy, I think he might have been from Hong Kong because he sort of spoke his English with a British accent and spoke Chinese to his wife, but didn't seem to speak Korean. Because I asked him something in Korean, and he's like, "What?" We were trying to, because they were showing the wrong train number up on the screen, but we're like, "This is the right train." They just haven't updated the number, right? We were all trying to figure that out. And it was the right train. We never got on the wrong train. We definitely took the train in the wrong direction a few times the first few days we were there. Like getting on the subway and then going the wrong direction, being like, and get back down. Oh, Korean coffee's fantastic, Zoe. The only thing about it is they don't do a lot of drip. They have some drip. In fact, they have tons of Blue Bottle coffee locations there. But most places just do espresso. The national drink of Korea is the Americano, the iced Americano, particularly, especially when it's hot. But apparently they even drink it in the winter. So you're dealing. We mostly drank iced Americanos, frankly, and they were very good. Idea was one of the places we went, and then we went to a lot of like boutique cafe type places that had coffee and pastries, and oh man, the baked goods, so good. Salt bread. We had this thing called a cheese bomb at Cafe Onion. Thank you, Lucky Phil. I'm glad I look and sound refreshed. I do not feel fresh in any way, but I'm glad I'm coming off that way. That's good to know. Korean bacon. Ooh, good question. We had bacon on very few occasions. You can get it. We weren't eating the hotel breakfasts all the time. But they had your style, Zoe, of crispy bacon at the Westin Busan in their little hotel breakfast. And I did eat that quite a bit. It was good. That was good. There was another place, I think it might have been the Westin, because we stayed at a Westin in Seoul, then Westin in Busan, then Le Méridien in Seoul for the remainder of the trip. We never ate breakfast at Le Méridien. We did eat breakfast at the Westins. I think the Westin Seoul had like Canadian style bacon, whereas the Westin Busan had the American fatty bacon. Oh, Killbot. It met or exceeded my expectations in every respect. We kind of did all the things we planned, with a couple of exceptions. There are always some things you're like, I thought we'd get to do that. We never had a chance. We wanted to go up to Namsan Tower, which is the big spire in the middle of Seoul, and we never did that. But there was a couple other things that we never got to. Oh, I wanted to go to the big electronics market, and we just never made it over to there again. We were there on the very first day, and I was like, oh, we'll have plenty of time to go back there. And then we never went back. But I did eat sannakji, which is the live octopus. That was tasty. None of you will probably eat it ever. I definitely had some friends who were like, nope, I will never do that. That was at the Jangali, is that right? Jangali? The fish market in Busan. And it was not planned. We were just okay, coolest thing about the fish market, and this is not unique to Korea. You can do this at fish markets all over the world, but you go to the fish market and you pick out fish. They're fresh. Some of them still swimming around in little tanks. And you're like, I want that one. and then they're like, great. And you pay for it and they give you a receipt and they're like, go up to section 21. So you go upstairs and it's all these kitchens with seats and stuff around them. So you find section 21, you check in, you're like, hey, I'm here, they're sending the fish up from downstairs. Like, okay, great. Then you pay a little extra like cooking sitting fee for them to cook it for you. And then you sit down and eventually they bring out delicious, super fresh fish. So we had, what was it? I think it was a rockfish, some abalone, and the sannakji. It was good. Yeah, this didn't take too long, actually, maybe because it's fish. I think the sannakji came out first because that doesn't require cooking. They just garnish it with the vinegar sauce and stuff. Then the abalone, and then the rockfish was the last. So good. You get to look the fish in the eye, Beatmaster, and be like, I'm eating you. Yeah, it was really good for the fish. Language study. I definitely was better at the end of the trip than I was at the beginning. I would blank out, especially when people talk to me. I was like, sometimes can't understand what people are saying to me in English when I'm at a restaurant. It's just a weird thing where I'm like thinking about other things when people talk. But it came in super handy a couple of times. Once at a chicken place where it didn't feel like they spoke a lot of English, at least the guy that we're talking to. So I ordered completely in Korean. It was all good. We even had some issues with Apple Pay that I was able to handle because they thought they took Apple Pay, but they didn't. It didn't work. So we figured that out. And then this tiny, tiny place that served kongguksu, which is like a perilla leaf noodles dish. Lady was alone. She just ran the place by herself, spoke no English. The best part of that was when we walked in, there were two Koreans sitting there and they saw us and they looked at her. And I didn't hear what they said. I just couldn't hear it, but they were kind of pointing at their phone, I think reassuring her, like, don't worry, you can translate things on your phone. So I come in, she's looking at us, smiling, but like, okay. And I was like, kongguksu tuge juseyo. And she's smile. She's like, "Hey," and then from then on, I just spoke in Korean, very limited stuff, restaurant stuff, but made her life easier. And you could tell she was relieved. Did use Google Translate to read some stuff, especially when you check in at a lot of the I use Google Translate for signs, but I actually use the iPhone built-in translator for what I'm about to tell you. When you check in at some restaurants, they just have you put in a phone number. So we had an eSIM with a Korean phone number because we knew that was a possibility, and we put in our Korean number. But you get the text message confirmation in Korean, and it's a big long thing of text. I could probably puzzle it out with what I know, but it was easier to just long press and be like, translate, and then translate. And there were some signs in a couple of places, like in parks, where you're like, the specialized vocabulary that I don't know. You shoot Google Translate at it. Worked great. What'd you say, just another pilot? Eileen knows a little bit Wabbit magic. She's picked up a little bit here and there. Yeah. Yeah, the eSIM thing was the best. I was impressed with the people at the airport and their efficiency in getting us all set up. 2 phones, less than 10 minutes. The only thing about it was that they turned off our main line when they set it up, which is probably just standard procedure, just to make sure it works, right? You don't want to be testing it and then have it actually coming through the other line somehow. So you turn it off because they send you a text message and make sure you can surf the web and everything before you go, which is great. I'm glad they're doing that kind of quality control, right? But they didn't tell me to turn it back on which is fine. But I think for a lot of people, they might not turn on the line, but you can have both SIMs running. And that way I was able to get my text messages and calls from my regular phone number from folks back home and stuff. Turned out to be important because we had a little vet scare with Sawyer. He totally fine. Nothing came of it, but it was something we had to handle. And I was glad that I had my regular phone line there. I never did real-time conversation translation, Technomensch. I just used the translation stuff, and I would use Papago to kind of check if I was like, I want to say this to the taxi driver, but am I oh, okay, yes, that's right. Papago is great. So Papago, Google Translate, and iOS's built-in translation were the big ones I used. I didn't do any real-time stuff. Yeah, Wild West End, right? Like, I'll be honest, and I found this to be fairly true in Japan too when I visited, but things just work. Every time I'm used to like, okay, we're going to have to do this thing. It's probably going to take a half hour. Things work, man. In Korea, they're efficient. I had my eSIM on iOS because you couldn't get an eSIM with the plan that let you make outgoing texts and voice calls from your Korean number on the Pixel through LGU Plus. For some reason, they would only set that up on Samsung or iPhones. So I did it on the iPhone. Hey, W's got us one though. Good to see you, man. And then Eileen chose to do hers on her iPhone instead of her Galaxy, but I don't remember why now. But yeah, we both did them on the iPhones. And then we had Google Fi on our Android phones, which worked great. Never had any issues. You know, basically the way Google Fi does is like whatever your data plan is, that's your data plan. And if you're in another country, it's just, you still pay for the data. No, I don't think you can do more than 2 at the same time, Dan. 3, 4, 1, 3. Beatmaster. Yeah. So the translation app to Spanish to Korean. That was one thing I found interesting is the non-Koreans we ran into were almost never other Americans. A lot of French, I think some Brazilians, but rarely Americans. Apple Pay for the most part flying out. They take tap everywhere. There's a few places that were set up for tap but didn't do Apple Pay, and then when they'd see I had an American credit card, they're like, "Oh, just insert the chip," and I'd be like, "No, this one has tap," and they would be surprised. So if you're a Pixel user, Technomensch, you can get the plan that lets you receive texts and voice calls at a Korean number, but just not initiate them. It's just a subtle situation. I don't know why though. I don't know why that is. However, a lot of people, they don't need to make outgoing text. I just wanted that flexibility. I wanted the ability to do that. I wouldn't have needed it to do the restaurant stuff, but apparently. But I just wanted to make sure I had a Korean number and everything. Hey, Paolo, good to see you. Yeah, Paris baguette, man. Paris baguette, huge in Korea. From Korea, it was started in Korea. No Technomensch, only Samsung Pay in some places. Samsung Pay everywhere. If you had Samsung Pay, you could use it. Although Eileen was having problems getting her Samsung Pay to work. We're not sure why at some places. Apple Pay in most places, and then if they had Apple Pay, Google Wallet as well. They start to threaten you if you're out of the US for more than 30 days. That's funny. Yeah, we had 3 or 4 situations where we put in our phone number for text, but I know in a couple of those we could have still gotten seated without having a text message. We would just had to tell them, and it would have been a bigger deal. It was just easy to use the phone number. SIM and an eSIM, Daniel. An eSIM means you don't have to have a physical card to put in the phone. So an eSIM means you just scan a QR code and the SIM the information that is on the little SIM card just propagates on your phone. And then in your phone, you can turn it on and off like you like taking it out, etc. So it's just easier because you don't have to pop open your phone and put the SIM card in. And you can have multiple eSIMs on and activate up to 2 at a time on the iPhone. Is it 6? Yeah. I know it's a lot. You can only have 2 active, but you can have multiples, whereas with physical SIM cards, you're limited to how many slots you have. Palo Me, only because I've been taking a class. Any tech-related stuff I saw there that we don't have in the US? Nothing huge sticks out for me. We went to this immersive virtual exhibit about the TV show Alchemy of Souls, which is on Netflix, and that was incredible. I've got tons of pictures of that up on Instagram. Robots everywhere. Those little roly robots, that kind of come up and they have the weird looking eyes and you can talk to them. Not just at the airport, saw them at several places. Like mall, there was one in the mall. Oh yeah, Beatmaster. That's the other thing about the Sims. You can decide which Sim does what, and so I set the Korean one to be the primary one because it was unlimited data, but I could have it fall back to my T-Mobile, my main SIM, but I didn't. I basically said only fall to the T-Mobile if there is no service from LGU Plus, and there was never no service from LGU Plus where there was T-Mobile. So I was never using my T-Mobile data, which internationally I think they give you like 5 gigabytes or something, and then you have to pay to add because I've done that in the past. So I never used that, but I was still able to get all my texts to my US phone number and send texts. That's the other weird thing is I had to figure out like how to make sure to send a text from my US phone number. You also had to reauthorize iMessage to work with your US number to keep all of your blue bubbles blue. Eileen had a problem with that where I was not able to send her iMessages through the trip until we got back and deleted the eSIM. I'm not sure what was going up there. But yeah, this is the first trip internationally where I never worried about data. We had a 14-day trip, got a 15-day eSIM with unlimited data, and service was great. I had looked up and LGU Plus was apparently the best service and it worked great for me. So yeah, I never thought about data. They have Wi-Fi all over the place and we did use Wi-Fi, but I don't think we would have had to. There were drones, but we never saw any because there was a drone show at the bridge in Busan that got rained out. We went to the bridge, we're ready to watch it, and they're like, it's been canceled. Rain, sorry. Except it wasn't raining at the time, but anyway. And then probably the winds. And then we found out about a drone show in Seoul at one of the bridges after we left, so we missed that one. See you in a few hours, Wild West Dan. He's probably gone already. Yeah, T-Mobile International isn't. I think it's LTE now. It used to be just 3G. I think it's LTE, but it's not 5G. Yeah, I think I could have used Wi-Fi only calls on the Pixel for Google Fi, but it wouldn't have had outgoing number. It wouldn't have served. Yeah, I don't think it would have worked with that number. Yeah, Dan3413, you see a double bar. I took a screenshot of it and I think I put it up on Mastodon. You see like whatever your primary service, in my case it was LG, will have the top bars and then you'll have little dots under that for whatever your secondary service. I know, I had to be a green bubble stick. We're all crazy. I did finish the Discord integration and there's a Twitch role but Killbot 404, if you have a Patreon role, that supersedes your Twitch role. So maybe that's why you don't see anything, but it should be there. Pricing for the eSIM in Korea was 50. I have the receipt somewhere. 55,000 won for the unlimited data, and then an extra 5,000 won for 200 minutes of calls and the text message plan. And then you could retop that off. We never went through the 200 minutes, so it was just the 5,000 won. So yeah, something like $60, I guess $50 actually. eSIM is the way of the present. If you've bought a phone within the last few years, you've got eSIM, and that's just kind of the way it works. Oh, you don't have Patreon? Then yeah, it should work. Not sure why you wouldn't see it, but I definitely, let me go into the DTNS Discord. I definitely see the Twitch role. Twitch role. Is it under the Android Faithful role? Can you collab? Discord, your interface sometimes. I've gotta say. Oh, it's all these production assistants. Yeah, there's like a dozen people signed up in the Twitch role. Ooh, 2 Twitch roles. Cliff Singer. Give one to Killbot 404 then. Hoarding all the Twitch roles. Tootsie roles. I'm trying to think of other technology stuff. I'm probably forgetting something, but of course she did, Daniel. She always does. Hi, Paolo. I see you in general. Twitch. Yeah, there's 31 Twitch subscribers. I am the tier 3 member. Yeah, I don't see Killbot. I don't see you on there, so there's probably just some more steps you need to go through. Hello. Oh, home entertainment. I didn't really see anything particularly weird for home entertainment. I would say in the wild, I mentioned this on the editor's desk, about 50-50 Samsung versus iPhone in the wild, with some Google phones and others here and there, but not as Samsung dominant as I would have expected. I would have expected it to be much more in Samsung's favor. A lot of iPhones out there. A Twitch roll is like a cinnamon roll, but covered in Twitch. No, it's a ROLE. I didn't see that one either, Killbot. Yeah, Twitch is sweet. It's true. All right. Well then. Yes, just Google it. No, it's Discord has roles. So you can have a role that gives you more access to different channels and stuff. And there's a Twitch role in our DTNS Discord. I savor rolls, Cliff Singer. Twitch roll, Ryan, would be one made of live octopus. In server settings under integrations, you think that's it? There's a sync button for Twitch. I don't see a sync button. Thanks, Paolo. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about X's ID stuff today. We're going to be talking about TikTok and the fact that everybody seems to have cooled down on banning it in the US. And then we're going to be talking about some like leftover things. You know, there's always things that come out after the Apple announcements. We're going to talk about the fact that it was pre-order day for people, and then some of the other things, especially the fact that USB-C does not mean they added USB 3.2 to anything. Stuff like that. All right. That said, I'm going to get back to prep because I need to make sure I stay awake for the show. But thanks, everybody. It's good to see y'all. And I'm so happy to see you all in here. This is great. It's a good way to kind of get myself back in the flow. So thanks for showing up and hanging out. All right, everybody. Talk to you soon.